Okay.
Oh, look at us.
Hey.
Hi, Mark.
Hi, Rachel. Did you
How are
recover
ya?
from our conference?
Almost. My email inbox has not yet, but yes, feeling good and actually want to go back next week again already.
I was talking about sleep, but because I'm still working on catching up on my sleep. But what a wonderful event. This is the time when our little intro music is playing, right?
It is.
And I know we've been using the same, thank you. I know we've been using the same music, but boy, just to put a bug out there, does anyone want to make us a new custom intro song? That would be great. Maybe even one of our guests today.
Maybe even one of our guests today.
All right.
So speaking of guests, Mark.
Okay. Are
we
doing that, or did you want to chit chat a little bit about like how your weekend went? I
Mhm.
know that you're watching a show that I got you on, and I talked
Oh,
about
that's true.
in I think was our last episode with Corey.
Mhm.
So I did mention that I went through the Paradise on Hulu, the Paradise show twice actually, and you've started watching it, and I'm trying really hard not to give you spoilers. So
I did just finish the Billy episode for those who have started this series, and
that was my first real heartbreak of the show. It was a tough episode to watch, but
that's the exact word I was going to use, is I'm just heartbroken. I've walked around for 4 or 5 days now thinking about it, and it's awful, but the premise, you're right. It's a really cool setup of this show. I think the way you described it was, what did you say? Something like the main character is a Secret Service agent and the president has just been murdered. And you said, and that doesn't give anything away. And boy, were you right.
And I think I mentioned, and it's true, there's a lot of tiebacks to Hugh Howey's Wool series, which has been made into Apple TV's Silo series. So if that doesn't give you some fun, interesting sci-fi thoughts, it's not just about a Secret Service agent.
Yes.
It's pretty great.
For anybody listening,
should give it a shot. Yeah, absolutely. I do want to, before we bring out other guests, for those who are not aware, and I think we've mentioned this before, Rachel and I are in a text group with Ellen Dorr, Renton, and Shelby Reynolds from North Thurston. We call ourselves the Word.
Shelby Reynolds from,
yeah, we'll do that again.
Which district?
Yeah. Shelby from North Shore. Whoa.
We're not doing that again.
No, we're in a text group called the Wordle Nerdles. We have shirts and it's pretty great. But boy, there was a fun day this last week, wasn't there, Rachel?
There was a fun day. I call it the day that killed Wordle.
Yeah, do you want to kind of share a little bit about that?
So we geek out a little bit every once in a while when there's a word that we feel like was really unjust or unfair. We look at stats, and in the early morning this day, last week, I woke up and I happened to check a social media feed and I thought, oh no, because the person had just broken I don't remember what the number was, but like a 342 day streak or something like that on that day. So I dropped it in the Wordle's Nerdle chat at like 6 something in the morning. And as the day went on, actually we did okay. We did okay.
We did all right. And this is for those of you that are Wordlers out there, which I think there's a lot more of you than will admit. I love going later in the day. And I love, in particular, I love that Shelby does hers pretty early in the morning because you learn a little bit by the people who go before you. So you kind of have an idea based on patterns. Should you be looking for normal letters or the less used letters? Normal is probably not the greatest description of a letter, but that was a really interesting day. And I think that a couple of folks got right down to their last guesses. And I'm in a different Wordle group that a bunch of people failed, and it made me smile.
Yes. And so for those who don't know what we're talking about yet, it was the day that, so it was like 50% solved it in 6. It was quite low. It was in the 50s.
It was the first time that the successful solution rate was under 80%. Overall.
Yes. And it dropped a bunch.
And it wasn't even that weird of a word.
No, it was eager.
It was. But, you know, you had a lot of like wager and logger, and I guessed rager because, you know, why not?
That's what one does.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I had 3 more options on, I think I got it in 6, and on my 6th try, I was like, Wordle's playing a trick on us. So that was a fun one.
Should we bring on our guests?
I would love that. I, though, have a question for our guests when they come on.
Okay.
And I see that you wrote a question that I don't know why you wrote this question, but I want to discuss this question so badly. You wrote Third Eye Blind. Is it rock or is it pop?
I should have put 5 question marks. So let's bring it. If you'll do the stage controls, I will say that we are thrilled to have join us today Joe Yamada, also known as DJ Joe in ACPE land from North Shore School District.
Thanks.
Yes, that was for Mark. And Steve Langford from Beaverton School District, and also the ACPE board, and now the ACPE president of the board.
Shocked he didn't write it in his name. Shocked.
What were you all thinking?
I'm surprised Steve hasn't changed the bylaws so that it's king for life when someone's the president. Okay, so to my question, we'll drop in hot. My children would tell you that Spotify DJ is like the worst thing that ever happened, but I have stuck with it and he's doing okay. But I had this moment yesterday. I listened to like 17 hours of songs the past few days because I've been doing yard work after work. And so during one of the transitions from whatever song it was, he said, all right, and now we're going to go into some rock that you like. And he said, starting with Third Eye Blind.
If in your head you're not doing the do 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 do.
And I just thought it's the first time that I wished that the DJ was in the house and I would do the like, what? Okay, so I should have put 4 question marks behind that question. Do any of you think that Third Eye Blind is rock?
Well, are you implying a bias here, Rachel? Because I feel like you're trying to lead us to an answer.
I think I answered it already.
I have a follow-up question to this, but please contribute.
I would definitely have to say it is a form of rock for sure. It's like pop rock, but you've got the guitars, you've got the drums, you've got bass. It's definitely rock. I mean, whether it's hard rock, not quite. It's more pop rock than anything else. Very, very much 90s pop rock is what I would call it. If someone said, how would you describe Third Eye Blind? I would say 90s pop rock.
It's such a better answer than I would have come up with.
I will take that.
Steve, dying to know your thoughts.
Exactly what he said. Third Eye Blind is defined by semi-charmed life, right? And so, like, name 3 other songs. I can't. So for me, what defines them is probably more popish than rockish.
All right, so this leads me to another question that Steve and I have discussed at length. He probably doesn't remember this, but we golfed at ACPE last year and I played yacht rock the whole time while we were golfing, and we were discussing each of the artists that came on as to whether they actually counted as yacht rock. And there was 2 for me that I thought was questionable. One was Michael Jackson and one was Hall & Oates. Are they yacht rock?
I just read an article where Daryl Hall hates the term, went off on it, and talked at length about that doesn't exist. He is not yacht rock. So for that reason, I think they're yacht rock.
Okay, that is the Steve Langford way.
But I'm going to give you Michael Jackson.
Oh, but God, yeah, but that is definitely not yacht rock, because there's no way Michael Jackson is yacht rock. It's too much under that pop dance category. I don't know of anyone who would put it into that category of yacht rock. I'm surprised that it popped up on that playlist.
The song is Human Nature. There's like a keyboard melody in there that is the most yacht rocky thing you could ever hear in your life.
So you could have elements of yacht rock, just like you could have elements of hard rock with Eddie Van Halen when he played with Michael Jackson, but it's still not rock. It's still pop and it's dance. I wouldn't put Michael Jackson in any rock category at all.
Okay, and there we have it.
I believe, and he is the king of pop.
He is.
Exactly.
And I would say that of the 4 of us here, Mr. Joe Yamada is probably the most musically adept person of us. As Rachel did point out to me that Joe likes to attend is it NAMM?
Yeah.
And Joe has been for those that are not aware or haven't made it to the conference yet, Joe has been traditionally our dance floor DJ for one of the evenings. I think it's usually Thursday night that we do the dancing. But Joe is also very much a musician and attends the NAMM festival, and would love to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so NAMM is a convention that happens every year down in Anaheim. It happens at the Anaheim Convention Center. On the surface level, it's a trade show for music manufacturers to bring their products, their latest and greatest, to kind of showcase them to the world. The attendees who go there are typically industry professionals. It is an event that's closed to the public, so you've got to get invites from either vendors or from music organizations in order to go to this event. What I like about it is that you get to meet all kinds of people who are involved with the music industry, whether they are semi-professional musicians or Grammy Award-winning musicians, including producers or just all kinds of folks. So you never know who you're going to be standing in front of in the Starbucks line. It could be someone who's got a pile of Grammy Awards at home, and you have no idea, but you love talking to them and learning from them as you hang out and spend the weekend down at this NAMM convention.
What was the cool or the hot thing at this past show?
Oh man, there's so much stuff every year. Obviously, the tech area is the area that continues to grow every single year. I don't know if there was any particular product really that jumped out for me, but it seems like every time I go into the tech area of this music convention, there are always things that just kind of blow me away. It's just amazing with how far music has come. And I think, gosh, if I had these tools when I was a kid, how much further along would I be now? So I'm certainly impressed with what's coming out these days.
So, Steve, entering the chat, you're a musician also.
I started playing drums and piano at age 10. And so have played both. It's been a long time since I touched the piano though, so I'm pretty rusty. Drums is I love playing drums.
I feel like we have an ACPE jam band in the making if we just
for
find our
sure.
guitarists, right? Yeah. Okay. I'm excited about this. Steve, do you get to play drums in like real life with other people right now?
It's been a few years, but I was playing with some neighbors. We would just get together Sunday afternoons, do a bunch of 80s rock, and that was just a lot of fun. But that's been a few years. Now I spent my weekends gumming my soup on the front porch. So that's right. It's great. Joe's got NAMM and all that cool stuff, music going on. I get to sit on the front porch and yell at kids.
Oh,
Have fun.
but you have a traveling front porch now.
That's right.
Yeah, Steve likes to text me pictures of where he's at currently, which is not his residence. He has a new travel trailer that you like to go tour around in, and you stumped me last weekend where you were at, which was where again?
Deb Stewart, just down the road. It's on the way to Seaside, Oregon, just on 26. So it's close. We have a remote work policy that you got to be within 60 minutes of the office. It's about 45 minutes, and so we take the trailer, go out there, and sometimes I'll work, sometimes I won't, because I can gum soup there too.
Okay, so this goes like public on the internet.
I'm not sharing anything and everyone doesn't already know. So yeah, no secrets here.
True. I have a Steve challenge, and it's that you take your drum set with you one of the weekends.
That would be a lot of fun. So for me, no one else. Yeah, no one else, but for me.
I bet there might be a band in the making at the campgrounds.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
I want to just give one last appreciation.
Well, can I jump in on musical instruments really quickly?
Yes.
I would like to point out that Rachel is going to buy a mixer. Rachel is going to buy a controller mixer because she wants to learn how to mix. And I think Julia is going to teach her how to do it, which would be great.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
And we are just going to have quite the EDC style ACPE here pretty soon.
I gotta tell you, Mark, one of the best additions was last year when you started the mixing and the rave at the treehouse. It's just been so well received.
It was great, and I think we'll get into it a little bit later in this podcast episode. But I have some ideas for next year that I think will make it even better. So we just need to get Joe back out on the decks. I know you were there the first year, Joe, and maybe you were this year, and I just didn't see it because it was really dark at the tree houses this year.
Yes, that's true. But we have some logistical things to do.
Yeah, we got to figure out some pieces. I mean, it was only the second time we've done it. So, learning process there. But yeah, I can't wait for Rachel to get some decks, and we can all go back to back. It'll be fun.
And then Reese was the one that was learning, and
Reese had a great time. Reese from Peninsula School District was more or less Julia's roadie. Sorry, Reese, if you're listening to this, but she actually did refer to you as a roadie, and you're in there, and you did great. You did really well. I gotta say,
really good.
It was wonderful.
Yeah. Okay, so one last music touch point, and it is that very seriously now, Joe, I have followed you on Spotify for, would it be over 5 years? You've been on there a long while, I think. I think for me, I probably found you, it was maybe heading into the pandemic, around the pandemic. And there's a song, and I'm going to say it's my very favorite. Like, it's one of my very favorite songs, but it's my favorite of yours, even though they're all great. And it's A Silent Tear. But I chuckle each time a little bit when I look at it, because like in my brain, I say a silent tear, and then I chuckle as it starts. But it's so It is so still and not haunting necessarily, but quiet. And for years now, it's the one that on a Saturday morning, when I put on my Saturday morning playlist, it's the one that brings me a lot of joy each time. It like slows my heart rate. The world is calm no matter what's going on. And so thanks for your brilliance and for sharing it on Spotify. And it's been such a pleasure to get to know you at ACPE all of these years, and probably drive Joe crazy a little bit when we're like, okay, and now can we do this dance? And now can we do that dance? Because there's a difference in being like a DJ for a conference dance floor compared to being a mixing DJ, a house DJ, tech house, all of the genres, and also the work that you do as a professional musician.
Thanks, Rachel. Thanks for all the kind words. Yeah, that piece. I like to say that a lot of the emotion in a silent tier happens between the notes. You know, it's not necessarily the notes that you're playing, but it's that space that kind of gives it the feeling that it does. So when I wrote that piece, it was it's kind of therapeutic as I was creating it, and when it came out, it kind of really accurately represented what I was feeling at the time. So it's great that I've been able to have that available for folks to find and listen and to enjoy as much as I do enjoy playing it. So thanks so much.
Anybody watching the YouTube stream of this, and I don't know if our stage folks know this, I'm actually sharing Joe's Spotify page at the moment, and I am going to follow this now. Thank you, Joe. Joe is just shy of 40,000 monthly listeners. I don't know if you've looked at your stats lately, Joe, but 40,000, right here.
Hey, look at that.
Honestly, this is really impressive. Really impressive.
Thanks. Thanks,
I
Mark.
can't believe that more people don't know this about Joe.
I've always loved music, and when I was in college, I was the kid who you'd go to their dorm room and he'd have 600 CDs in there, and so I've always enjoyed all kinds of music. And when it came time for us to plan events in the dorms, like a dance or a party or whatever, we never had a budget to hire a DJ, so I would just lug all my CDs down and line a couple CD players into a mixing board and just kind of play the songs fading in and fading out. And that's kind of how I got started with DJing. And so I did a lot of college events, and that kind of evolved into doing local school dances. And then that evolved into doing weddings and corporate events. And so for a long time, I was doing all kinds of special events in the evenings and weekends. But once I got married and had kids, I really didn't want to spend all my evenings and weekends working. So I kind of put that aside. And for the last 10 to 15 years, it's just been kind of volunteer stuff where I'll DJ for, maybe a PTA event or, a fundraiser for nonprofits, and, do them at ACPE because it's fun. And if I wasn't doing it, for everybody, I would probably just be doing it for, a small group of folks like we did back at the mountain. Before I did the big Thursday night events, when we were back at the resort at the mountain, the North Shore folks would rent one of the houses that was kind of across the street from the resort there. And I would often bring my DJ gear and set it up in the garage, and we'd have a gathering there. And so that kind of evolved from being just at the house for a smaller group to being in the main ballroom for everybody. And so it's been super fun. I'm so glad that I can do that, and glad that so many people enjoy doing it. And so while I do enjoy creating music, I just enjoy being around music, and anything that I can do related to music is such a joy. So thanks for letting me do it at ACPE.
For sure. And I want to point out that when Steve had children, it did not stop him from playing the drums. He played them even louder.
I was going to take a different approach, Mark, and I was going to say, so Steve, I imagine that you had a dorm room full of music also, but we might be talking 8 tracks?
Oh,
real to real.
No, we had string quartets. Yeah, there was no electronics. We just brought the musicians in, and then they played.
Yeah. This would be
they were huge.
Yes, dulcimers.
Yeah.
This would be a love shove. Mark, do you want to touch on a little Smartless, and then we'll actually get to the content, because I have a bunch of questions for Steve as he sat and listened to us being ridiculous for 34 minutes now.
Yeah, he did. No, Rachel was like, hey, you need to listen to the Amy Poehler Smartless podcast. And I was like, okay, I'll do it while I'm mowing. That's fine. And then I actually had to stop for a minute because it was really funny. But Rachel used the term love shove. And I was like, I wonder what she's talking about, which was her version of a love tap, where you kind of slam on somebody a little bit because you love them. But she was talking about her then husband, Will, and Jason Bateman, right? And how would they hang out?
That would be Will Arnett of Arrested Development. development fame,
Correct.
among other things.
Yes. How they would be at her parents' house. Jason Bateman was with them, I think. And she said it was just basically brutal. It wasn't a love tap. It was a love shove, like all the time. But she'd said something, and I just wanted to share something I found sort of endearing to me in that. She goes, but the way we do it and the way and why it's okay for us is we tease because we love, like the love shove, and you have a comfort in the ability to tease. And she says, and if we're teasing you, that means we love you. And if we're not, that means we are not sure about you. And I think about all the interactions I have in my life and the people that are, kind of around me. And that is the language that I speak. And I think it's a pretty big language of ACPE is just how well we know each other and how we have no problems teasing each other and just having fun with each other. I thought it was a really profound part of that episode. I don't know. Why did you want me to listen to it, Rachel?
I just thought it was great from the beginning to the end. But that idea of teasing if I'm teasing, all is well. And if it's manners, then, like you're not in the cool kids club. So welcome
That's
and
right.
feel
She said
the love,
manners, yeah.
Steve and Joe. We're super happy to have you here for this episode. So seriously though, Steve, you are now ACPE president, coming off of a really well done conference. As Jennifer Clauser moves fully into retirement, I thought the conference was fantastic. What was your take? What were your favorites? What did you think?
Wow.
What did you do?
So many things I can't share. But no, I just so appreciate Jennifer like visioning that theme and making sure everyone understood what it meant to be included and to be welcome and to belong. I thought it was just such a great conference for people. And it just underscored to me, just kind of like we were talking about the relationship, that when you've got relationship, you can engage with each other very differently than if you don't. And I think the conference for me, as I walked around, I saw everyone having fun. And sometimes it was in big groups and it was loud. And sometimes it was a couple of people sitting just in chairs having a quiet conversation, or people playing board games in the lobby who maybe didn't want to get away. Just the ability to have community in whatever form you were comfortable with, I thought really spoke well of our community.
I agree. Keynotes. They were so good.
Yes.
And Sylvia, especially as the closing keynote, I think both were great. But the message and her story, Dirt Road Village,
New Mexico,
one of the last, right near the border, South New
meningitis.
Mexico, one of the last meningitis episodes in the country. And then having a recruiter decades later call and say, hey, we're working on this. And I was going back through our archives, and you're the first kind of like non-white man professional postgraduate degree from Stanford. How did you get here? And her saying, I had to think about this. And then going back to that village and telling her story, and then the work that she does and some of the actual data points that she dropped in terms of women in tech, girls in STEM and STEAM, and the opportunities that look different when we're thoughtful about them that help us close some of those gaps that we see. Both in ACPE, we still have quite a bit of imbalance between the number of male employees in K-12 technology and therefore also the membership of ACPE. And I'm curious about all of this because I think it's something that we continue to learn. And I grew up where I was in the early days, there were a lot of women in programming and computing and technology around me. And by the time I hit middle school, it was a couple of us. And by the time I hit college, it was less. And I'm grateful to be back in community. I think we are growing again. So I think the closing keynote was, for me, the cap of an amazing conference all the way leading up to that.
I thought that both keynotes were terrific. I was tired and a little punchy by the end, and I thought, before Sylvia started, I was like, God, I hope she brought us Girl Scout cookies. But her message was so good. I was like, this is amazing. This is just such a story of success and determination. And I think the thing I liked the most about it was when she was describing her time at the Jet Propulsion Lab at the JPL, NASA JPL, and how when her mission was getting close to, what did it go to? Was it Venus? I can't remember.
Saturn?
It could have been Saturn.
Yeah.
and how they slept in sleeping bags on the floor because they had to be there when it got close for pictures, and they had to be there. And I'm like, this is an example of some of the smartest people in the world who are such, and I feel okay saying, geeks for what they want, that they will camp out on their work floor to not miss a thing. And it was just so endearing, because I think we have a lot of people in our community that feel strongly about the work that we do, and given the correct, circumstances, would do the same type of thing.
Mark, I don't think you were alone. I think by Friday afternoon, people are tired and they're thinking about the drive home. And if you're in Oregon trying to get across that bridge, the Bridge of the Gods, which backs up to Seattle. So I think going into the closing keynote's hard, because going in, you're competing with everyone's tiredness and fatigue, and maybe thinking about the weekend and the work, to Rachel's point earlier about the emails that are unread. And when Sylvia started talking, I remember it affected me, because I was in the same space you were. And then I started looking around.
Cookies? Is that where you were?
Well, being tired from days of non-sleep, but watching people kind of lean in, like physically, to what she was saying as she told her story. And it was a good reminder that, community is not something we can take for granted. And not everyone experiences community as easily or feels welcome into a community. And then for us, I guess one of the things I took as I thought about ACPE is I'm grateful for the community we have. We need to make sure everyone feels a part of it and welcome. And we can never take that for granted. We've got to really work hard at leaning in to making sure that people don't feel like they have to work hard to be a part of our community, or be a certain way to be a part of our community.
100% agree.
Well said. Well said. I also think one of the standouts to talk about being seen and feeling included was Melissa and the entire team at Intermountain ESD on the store again this year. And you'll see us in our various ACPE generations and tops this evening. And so for the entire Intermountain ESD store team.
Yes, thank you.
We owe you a lot, and it's so much fun watching the excitement and the line down the hallway before the door opened. Yes.
Like, Steve, is that the jacket that was in the store this year?
No, this one is at least 4 or 5 years old.
It's vintage.
I have every color, and I'm not getting rid of any of them.
I was just going to say that the three of us are wearing at least one item from the store.
This one was from a few years ago. This one was from
Is that the same one?
I think. Is it? No, it's a little different, I think. This one's got the blue stitching.
Yeah. This year had the color block with the IncludeIT logo on it, and it was so distinctive because it was that dark navy with then the fuchsia and the bright orange logo. It was really good.
Yeah.
Really good.
I mean, Joe and I are wearing the hats, and
yes.
I don't know if you can see that.
The pint glass. Yeah.
If you've been going to ACPE for a while, your stock of ACPE gear is quite large.
Yes.
But
I still have a whole bunch from when it was that Western theme. I have a whole bunch of stuff from that.
We shared a picture of Steve.
I have a good photo of Steve from the Western theme.
Is it on your computer, Rachel? Because you could share it on the screen right now.
Good. Maybe we'll make it the cover slide of the episode. Steve in a cowboy hat and a bolo tie.
Yeah, no, but
it's not in my element.
Again, I'm going to throw back to some of the things that I saw at the conference. Sherry Reinhart retired last year, and she vacated her position on the board, but she came back for a night. And we know that Sherry likes margaritas. So we talked one of our diamond sponsors, Linewise and ClassLink, who had a margarita bar, into naming one of the margaritas after Sherry. And then we printed up some stickers with Sherry's face, and they stuck them on the cups, which was hilarious. She had no idea it was happening, and she was in there while people were looking at the cup and the sticker and her. Somebody had her autograph a sticker, which was interesting, but it was really wonderful that we could celebrate Sherry too. The other thing I want to point out is, we've been talking about sparkles. It was the Let Your Light Shine, or Inner Light Shine, kind of back to a point of seeing that everyone was kind of included and having fun with the theme. I would like to say that I saw people I would never expect to wear sparkles and wear shiny things. And it wasn't just one or two. It was a lot of people who really embraced that theme. And for me, at least, I was wearing that very Seahawks shiny sequin jacket. I found two people who had very similar sequined clothing, and we took lots of pictures because we matched so much. But it was just amazing to see some of the things that people were wearing, including all of us. And Steve's very silver jacket was quite incredible.
It was a good look. It was a good look. Yes, for sure, for sure. Speaking of sponsors really quickly, we do want to give a quick thank you in these next few episodes to our diamond sponsors who really, they support us financially. They show up ready. A lot of these are long-term sponsors. They do the special events. They bring teams with them. And so, Mark, you already mentioned LineWise and ClassLink. And I also want to throw in Samsung this year that we're just super grateful for. It's the lodge layout is really great for the diamond sponsors with these, essentially these little rooms that get themed. We had a Papa Shot, right? A little basketball game. The hydration station was a huge hit. Line out the door the entire night on that. Casino tables, just lots of unique spaces and places for people to get to know our sponsors and our partners, as well as to hang out and have fun with each other.
For sure. It was awesome.
Okay, so Steve, back to conferences. Are you ready?
Are you going to put them on? Are you going to put them on?
No, we don't do any gotcha journalism on this plugged in podcast.
Why not?
I meant, are you ready to take on the mantle of the presidency? And are you feeling excited about this year ahead?
I am actually. I don't know if you noticed, but yesterday in Discord, I started the ACPE 2026 channel because there's 351 days before the next conference. So we got to start. No, I am excited. I think that, I think I'd like us to keep thinking about the community we've got and the work that we all do and how much that matters and how meaningful it is. And so not giving anything away in terms of themes or how the conference is going to be, but those are the things bouncing around my brain right now. The work that our community does in every school district that we serve is really important and meaningful work. And if it's just a job, then I think we've got to have some conversations about that because I don't know, that's what's going around my head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you touched on this, and I'm going to pitch to Joe again. Joe, for years, in addition to following you on Spotify and listening to your beautiful piano work, I know that from sessions in the past, from conversations online, you have really dialed in, like to a professional musician level, how you do mobile computing in North Shore. That's a lot of your like daily, weekly, monthly strategy, as well as managing and doing. I keep hearing people brag about it. Can you give us a high level overview or in the weeds, whichever you prefer?
Oh, yeah. Well, we started getting into mobile devices over 10 years ago. I think it was 2013 when I was first given the task to, it was basically, hey, Joe, figure out how to manage iPads and Chromebooks in large numbers. And it was kind of this crazy position where I was trying out all different kinds of mobile devices, whether it be Android tablets or Windows RT tablets, Kindles, iPads, of course, Chromebooks. I had all these different types of devices and looking into different ways of managing them in scale. And after doing some pilots with small numbers, we eventually got into deciding that we wanted to go with Chromebooks and iPads. And so I was able to start out managing Chromebooks and iPads when we only had 20 of each, and I was able to grow that number to now where we have, almost 9,000 iPads and over 30,000 active Chrome devices in our district. And so I think because I was able to start managing when it was really small, and I was able to kind of be there while it was growing, I've been able to find efficiencies all along the way and really be able to tweak things so that they work at scale. So I always like doing presentations at ACPE, not just to share what I know, but also by sharing that, I get to see other folks in the room who are doing the same thing as I do. And so in between the sessions, I can kind of see some of these folks and say, hey, I saw you in the session. What is it that you do in your district? And so I'm able to start conversations there. And it's amazing how much I learned from other people at the conference just because I was able to be up presenting what I was presenting on, and that was able to spark conversation in between the sessions. So yeah, I learned so much at every ACP that I go to, not just at the sessions, but by talking to people in between the sessions. And I find that almost more valuable, the relationships that you build and the things that you learn from other folks rather than just what you learn in sessions.
Yeah. That is the conference, honestly, a lot of the times. Yes. And Steve, Beaverton and North Shore sound comparable. Is that right, size-wise?
I think we're about 18,000 iPads and maybe 20 something thousand columns.
It's just a lot. Do you all, so either one of you, do you scale it where there's like a small core team in the tech office, if you will? And then do you use librarians or people out in the buildings, or is it a small team literally managing that many devices?
So we have a technician in every single school. We call them STSs, stands for School Technology Specialist. So we have an STS that's based at every school throughout our district, and they provide kind of your frontline tech support for end users. They help troubleshoot things. They help issue new Chromebooks when students arrive or new iPads when they arrive. And they just are kind of our folks that are on the front line to help us out. And then we've got our help desk where folks can call in to get assistance with things, or tickets that are submitted typically get answered by help desk. And then if they're not able to resolve an issue, then it would come to me, and I would kind of help them out with that.
Yeah, we're similar. We've got technology support specialists, TSS positions, this 1-to-1 at secondaries, and then the elementary share one. And so we'll do a lot of knowledge sharing and knowledge transfer between our system admin team, hardware repair. We've taught a lot of our TSSs will do level 1 repairs right at the building. And then our TSS, they'll send them in as needed. Our hardware repair specialists have been doing videos, kind of creating some trainings for them to be able to better support the devices in the schools.
Yeah. You do have that crack repair team.
They're amazing.
David in the lead, is that right?
David and Nick.
Yes. Yeah. So for those who manage larger or smaller batches of devices like this, is there a magic software that you've integrated and used to do this? Or do you generally just use like the Google consoles, the Apple School Manager and Jamf? What's the best way to manage at scale in 2025?
Well, I would say with Chromebooks, definitely go for Buddy, which is Amplified IT, which is owned by, oh gosh, I'm spacing now.
I think maybe CDW bought them.
Yeah, they did. CDW bought them several years ago. So I use Go for Buddy on a daily basis, but that kind of works in conjunction with Google's admin console. But if you're deploying large number of devices, or you need to move devices around from OU to OU, Go for Buddy is a super valuable tool and something I highly recommend for any school district that's managing large numbers of Chromebooks.
Yeah. And then Steve, mostly Apple for you all, right? And then the Chromebook management in Google.
Yeah, Chromebook, Google, Apple, Jamf, big Jamf customer. And then Intune for the Windows devices.
Yeah, we've been using, for a few years now, we've been using FileWave for that. I mean, we use the Google Management Console, but for our Macs and our PCs, we do FileWave, and we do load up a self-service kiosk in there for users to select applications for their machines too.
Have any of you three had Chromebooks set on fire the past couple of weeks, right? The headlines that Steve, of course, Beaverton did.
I think we've had some folks try, because we definitely had a larger number of damaged Chromebooks than we typically would, with a physical damage, I should say, in the ports. So I think some folks have tried, but as far as I know, I haven't heard about any actual fires happening.
Ours was no fire, but smoke, and had to clear a room, is what I heard. So that's the worst one. Yeah.
Yeah, we're the same. Attempt, but no fire.
Yeah.
I still laugh though. We had a batch of Chromebooks, I won't say who, but we got reports, and this was years ago. We got reports that when you open them and open the lid up, it would just catch on fire. And I refused to believe it. I was like, no way. And then I took one and I opened it, and it was like a lighter. It went in a little flame, popped right up. It was, the plastic on the chassis was burning because it pinched a power cable going up into the screen. And it was like, such a perfect little flame. It was like a lighter. It just was like, bloop. There it is. I need to do something with our layout real quick, because I'm
okay. Are we gonna explore a little bit?
Well, I just want to move some things around here, because there's a reason that I want to do this, because Rachel got me thinking about pictures, and I have since learned how to share my screen. I found a picture that I really want to share.
Where this is going, I think.
And hold on, I need to wait. Give me 1 second. Talk amongst yourselves, in the words of the great Mike Myers.
Mark, what you need to do is if you want to share the picture, take a paper clip and just jam it into the USB port. Yeah, it's gonna help.
What a great idea. But I mean, here we have.
Oh, that's not the one I thought it was going to be.
No, but I
Mine's
wanted to put it so that it was right next to each other. Don't look at all my tabs.
Oh my God.
But what I mean, I was just
an
I was
ACPE many years ago.
yeah. And what's funny is we've gone to this conference so many times. I know the people in the background too. I'm like,
Yes.
I absolutely recognize the people in the background. But
Yeah.
I did see this and I was like, oh, I could put them right next to each other on the screen. And
so many great memories.
Oh my gosh, that is a good photo.
And I gotta tell you, the most terrifying person for me is Rachel, because she has photos that only she has from these ACPE conferences that sometimes I don't remember.
Mhm.
That was the year I think we implemented Synergy, and our lives were, you probably couldn't tell it from the photo, but we were really swimming hard and fast to try and keep things afloat.
Yes. Well, and Steve, good times on that, right? Because which it was really just me, right, doing an implementation and also my day job. So it was a nighttime implementation. This was during the housing recession for those who are old enough to remember that. And we had cut days off of school years. We had, done pretty severe layoffs in those years. And our prior student information system had gotten sold. And so we decided like, oh, well, I guess we're going to do a student information system migration. And so because of a long story, I was a little bit ahead of the pack. We don't need the story here. It's not meaningful. But then I sweated because I had to make my choice in essentially like a sheltered space, not knowing how the rest of the state and our RFP group would decide. And so I just remember for like a few weeks every night saying, please let it be Synergy. Please let it be Synergy. Please let it be Synergy. And so my environment's set up. I'm starting to build my flat files for the ETLs and enjoying doing it. It does inspire that part of my brain. And I do like doing that work. And then our state student information system leadership group, it was Synergy. And while I had a running start, Steve said, we'll do it in 4 months. What could go wrong? So that photo, we are already in the sleepless nights phase of this implementation, and Steve, especially, and his team, and they pulled it off. And it's even a better story because they pulled it off. And then 2 months later, it was 2 months later when we were at the conference, the annual conference, right? And Steve gets this text and we're standing together and I'm watching his face and I'm like, this isn't good. And it was that the data center was on fire that housed all of the Synergy and all of the things.
It was not me.
True. He had alibis.
Yes.
Many of us. So we survived those years.
Well, and now that
we've earned our gray hair and our wrinkles.
You guys look so young in that picture. It was unreal.
We were.
But, now that I started looking through pictures, I did find another one that I wanted to share because we do have Joe Yamada here, and we got to show the picture of DJ Joe.
One of my favorites.
Joe, how long ago was this?
Geez, I don't know. Okay, so it's got to be in Mallards, right?
Oh yeah.
Is that?
It's when MacBooks still had the light up icon on them.
Yeah, well, that's an old, I still have that laptop. They last forever. Those Macs last a long time. I'd have to look at the badge there and see if I can figure out what year it was. But that's
2022.
I was gonna say, I feel like that's the tent that we were in.
Yeah, that was the last year at the mountain, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
The background.
Okay. Well, all I remember about that last year was how wet the floor was because all the rain was coming down and there was water all over the floor, and I'm trying to lift the electrical cables off so nothing gets shorted out. That was a wild last year to have at the resort at the mountain.
No one got electrocuted
a number of times.
Yes. It was like Chromebook stories waiting to happen. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Joe, for those of us who are your loyal fans, rain on the dance floor just means that we slide better.
It's true.
So true.
Makes the dancing a little better, which we can use all the help that we can get at ACPE. Oh, and by the way, I was so happy with the hustle and everybody who came out to learn the dance and who dressed up. And we had a huge crowd. And thank you, Joe, for humoring us.
That was fantastic.
It was so much fun. At one point, Joe Morlock said, I guess we need a bigger dance floor next year. And it was really great.
Yeah, thanks.
Really
thanks so much for doing that. Thanks so much for doing that. I think a lot of people enjoyed it, and there were tons of people who showed up for it, and certainly exceeded my expectations too. I was pleasantly surprised and excited to see so many people participating in that.
I like the Moonlight Pavilion as a location for that, Joe. Because you have a very different perspective because you were working on that floor. What do you think about the move to the Moonlight?
I think it was great given the weather that we had. So Rachel and Steve, if you can arrange for that same weather to be there next year, I think it's going to be a fantastic second year to be out there. But no, really, I did really enjoy that space. I thought it was nice rather than being in a smaller room. Sometimes those smaller rooms can get real hot and stuffy. Being outside, there's a lot of fresh air. I loved how they had all those little fire pits all around the pavilion. People can kind of sit back and still feel like they're involved, but not necessarily dancing. I think sometimes when the dancing happens in a smaller room, if you're not in the room dancing, people don't feel like they really want to be in that room. So having those spaces that are kind of surrounding the pavilion there, where maybe people don't want to dance, but they still want to be a part of the party, like that was a fantastic way that everyone could kind of feel involved and included at the Moonlight Pavilion. So I think it's great. I know you guys had a backup plan for inclement weather. What was the backup plan? I guess I never heard what that was.
We did.
You give us way too much credit.
We definitely lucked out on weather again this year. And it's so funny that I tried to bring up the forecast a week and a half before, and Rachel and Corey were like, knock it off.
Jinx it. Joe, you touched on so many graceful spots about that pavilion that I hadn't thought about yet. But I do think the air hockey table, right? There was, and I apologize that I'm blanking on, I think it was CVE Technologies who was out there. We get to drop another. Thank you. They had a lovely interactive game area just off to the side of the dance floor. Those fire pits were great. There was a beverage station and then the dance floor and the DJ station, the most important parts.
And also Corey brought out pizzas later in the evening. So that was quite fantastic too. The pizzas just kept coming out. And so that was great having the food, having the beverages, having the, like you said, the game tables with the foosball and the air hockey. Like it just had a really cool vibe. I couldn't have been more pleased. Yeah.
And then the raffles, right? A whole bunch of people came out for the raffles.
So yeah, I mean, it's all year of just waiting for the conference, and then we have it, and it's so fast, and it's so fun, and it's just every year I get just this such more satisfaction around being with our community, just being with the people, and just love it so much that I miss it a ton as soon as it's over.
So we started a podcast because of this very thing.
Yes, we sure did. We want you back. Can I quickly plug a little something? And I think everybody here did a session at one point or another. The session we did was about what vendors don't want you to know. And it was like pulling the curtain back. We had to stop because they kicked us out of our room after an hour and 20 minutes and nobody wanted to leave. So I am going to organize a continuation of that session through our ACPE group and throw it out to the group and just host it in a webinar or something on Zoom from our school district and get the players back together so we can keep that conversation going. I hated stopping it where it did because it just had so much more life left in the discussion. So keep your eyes and ears open for a continuation of that session, which I would like to host for our community.
Steve, Joe, any sessions you want to highlight? Ones that really jumped out?
They are. I mean, the quality.
Yeah, they are good.
Oh, go ahead, Jeff.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, just because I spend day in and day out managing iPads and Chromebooks, I tended to go to a lot of the sessions that surrounded Chromebooks and iPads. So there were several that were presented by the folks at Google. So I found those incredibly informative. There was also one that Apple did that I went to that I really enjoyed. Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of great sessions, but those are the ones that I found most valuable for me.
I think those were great sessions too. Those jumped to the top of mind. For me, the student data privacy ones on Friday, we had a couple back-to-back that were very well attended, great discussion. People were really kind of bringing problems of practice and joint problem solving in both. Those were really valuable sessions, I heard.
And I got to hover just a little bit in Owen Craig's esports session. He's been such a lead and such a strong voice for this in Discord and in the lists. And then getting to see the evidence and hear the stories in person is always too.
Thank you, Owen, because I hit you up last week for your latest gaming rig specs. He had them for me right away.
And I got to tell you, I got to play golf with Owen Wednesday morning. He was in my foursome. Owen is, if you can get the pleasure and the privilege of playing golf with Owen, you got to do it because he made that day so much.
And why was that, Steve?
Owen used a putter the entire course. So he teed off with a putter. He hit from the middle of the fairway with a putter, and then he putted with a putter. it was a hoot.
It was good. So the golf tournament was, I mean, we had a lot of fun long games on Wednesday. I know Joe got the pleasure of golfing with one of my very good friends, Bill Frenzel from Parent Square. And I kind of hung out with their team for a couple of holes. But my favorite, and this is going to be the second time I've mentioned this person on the podcast, it's just a recurring thing, is Chris. And I always screw up the name. It's Robotham, right? Yep, I got it now.
Hi, Chris.
Because the golf course is a walking course, doing a shotgun start, we didn't send any teams out to the three furthest holes. And sorry, Chris, I am teasing just a little bit, but it's a love shove for you.
Teasing is love.
And I was in a cart and I was just kind of running around and making sure everybody was set. And I get out to the very furthest hole from the clubhouse, which was hole number 5. And Chris is standing out there by himself with the hole sponsor. And I think it was starting to drizzle a little bit. And I said, hey man, what are you doing out here? And he's like, well, you said my team starts on hole 5. And I said, yeah, I don't think I started anybody out here hole 5. And he goes, yeah, it said 5. I go, Chris, that was the putting course hole 5. That guy trucked it with a full bag of clubs as far as you could go out the golf course. And I was like, dude, just get the cart. Get the cart. And back, and I dropped him off at the putting green, and it was so great. That kind of made my day. It was pretty awesome. But what a great Wednesday of activities. It just seemed, we crossed paths with the runners a couple of times out on the golf course, at least, our group, and it looked like everyone was just having a great time.
Yeah. The cardio jam was great. The lawn games. Steve, when we did the kind of lead-in podcast with Corey, I had on my list to talk about board games and some of the things that, are not necessarily cardio jam or like laughing as somebody makes their way through a golf course with a putter. Sorry, Owen. And I just think making all of these different types of spaces is really great. I also have to say that Chris really brought it to the dance floor for the hustle, as I always link it back to that. And also Josh Kessiker, speaking of bringing it to the dance floor, who board member Josh, he got celebrated at our ESD CIO meeting the other day because truly fantastic outfit for the hustle and bringing the shine to that night. But Josh also does the fox hunt and it's so much fun. One of these days, one of these conferences, I'm going to have time to actually engage more meaningfully, but the group keeps growing. And I mean, I think David Lloyd is the one that just for years has been like, got it. And he was still very active this year, but Jameson and the others joined and Joe and so many. And so just really great different spaces and ways for people to feel included. I know that Emily Nangle is taking on this idea of mentoring, another way for us to connect and make spaces and have people feel well supported and belonging. So what a successful year.
Okay, don't leave that thought of Josh and dancing because we're going to have another thing. We're going to do another thing on the screen.
No.
Give me 1 second here. If you can't see the video, it's pretty great.
Here we go, Chris, Josh, Tayshawn, and me. Jim Newton's out there. Jaleel from
Congratulations,
Northurston.
Jim Newton, on your upcoming retirement. I mean, this is just such a classic of what it was like this year.
Joe Morlock in the middle.
Notice I was not out there.
The Intermountain crew. I want to highlight the 3 Intermountain, my favorite dance partners. What a night. It was so good.
And what were you shouting the whole time, Rachel?
Seatbelt, 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 and the skate. Tayshawn and I did a little co-teaching on the skate. I'm like, you can do it like funky chicken like me, or you can be smooth and cool like Tayshawn. And so he did his, and folks were like, oh, we're going to be like Tayshawn. Okay. I don't blame them. So, yes.
Well, I'm glad if you are watching, you got a peek of some really epic outfits. We'll put together a slideshow or something, and we'll dump it into.
We'll drop some
Discord.
links in the show notes.
Because it really was. You have to see. Well, it's actually in some of our notes. You have to see Steve's jacket because it was. I went salmon fishing by the way on Tuesday morning on the Columbia, and his jacket looked just like the flashers that we were using to attract the salmon. It was pretty amazing. But I have to say, the one that shocked me the most was our own board secretary, Bob Silva, when he rolled out his full shiny outfit. I never saw that one coming.
With a pink fedora.
Yes,
a pink glittery fedora.
It was amazing.
It was
something.
It was so good. It was so good. Alan really stepped out of his comfort zone and had on red velvet smoking jacket.
I feel like he has 9 of those. He's got a closet just for those.
A love shove for Alan.
Yeah.
Teasing is caring. A shout out to Lori Curtis and the
Oh, yeah.
mermaid. That
Well,
was
the
amazing.
mermaid. So Lori and I took a picture together. I have it somewhere because we matched, and she looked just like a mermaid. If you didn't know, Lori and I used to work together years and years and years ago. And then she really brought it the second day with that red. Her red outfit was something else.
Yes. Yes. So, Steve, are you feeling this heavy weight of responsibility?
Yeah, well, yes, and we have a community that gathers together.
Is going to rescue you?
Yes, yes. This is not a single person. This is a community effort. 2026 is going to be great, just like all the others before.
It's not to put any pressure on you, Steve, but you're my mentor as president now. So
I'm sorry for that.
My success is dependent upon what you do this
Yeah.
year.
Actually, just think I'm going to set the bar low. That's been doing it my whole career.
Okay, so more seriously, as we've spanned a lot of topics here, from a little bit of tech, a lot of the conference recap. I know some folks are waiting for us to get into some really serious episodes on cybersecurity and device management, but this first pilot was really about getting to set the table on getting to know each other and just have conversations. Steve, we're returning back to our shops. Joe and Mark also. What's on your priority list as we do this last push to the summertime, and or any big summer projects that your team is leaning into already?
I know Steve's answer.
Well,
All right, Joe, we're going to start with Joe.
Yeah. Okay, well, looking ahead to fall of 2025, we're continuing our Chromebook refresh that we started doing 2 years ago. At the start of the pandemic, we were kind of forced into a one-to-one deployment, which we weren't doing prior to the pandemic. And so during that first year of remote learning, we had distributed just all different kinds of models of Chromebooks, new Chromebooks, old Chromebooks, and whatnot. And so we kind of had this chaotic distribution of devices out there. And so over the last 2 years, we've been trying to slowly bring some order to that chaos and trying to get us to a more predictable refresh cycle. And so this fall, we're going to be doing 8,400 new Chromebooks. So that's kind of a big project that's in the near future for us. And that's going to be followed by a Mac refresh in the winter. It just seems like we're constantly refreshing at this point. When you go to a one-to-one deployment, and especially coming right out of the pandemic, which was 4 or 5 years ago, and everything from the pandemic now feels like it needs to be refreshed. So I think that's kind of be the theme for this upcoming school year, is just refreshing a lot of the old stuff that we've been using since the pandemic.
Yeah, for us, we're in the middle. We just finished refreshing our elementary and middle school student devices last year. So we've got a few years before we have to refresh again. But we are refreshing our teacher fleet. All of our teachers get a Mac laptop. And so that's going to be happening this summer. I do want to put out, like, if anybody from ACPE wants to get some exercise, we're replacing 3,000 AP. So we've got a bunch of ladders, and it's great cardio. You just run up, do a little thing, and then run down. And so that's a big one. We are just about 6 months in for our ERP replacement, or business HR finance system. It's going really well. But that is taking a lot of people's time and energy to make sure that what we're building is going to serve the district's needs for the next 20 years or so.
I think we have generated a new podcast topic here in talking about refresh cycles. And I will kind of lead that into what we're starting at the end of June. Those of us in Washington get to run technology capital levies. And so ours is coming. We have to start planning now for completion and board approval in October of next year to get on the ballot in February, so it can be active in April of 2027. So we are starting the planning process now. We do almost all of our work. I would say probably 70% of the tech levy we run is replacement cycle stuff. Anything we can put on a replacement cycle, we do, so that we know exactly how much to budget for an expenditure, and we try to break ours across 4 years as much as possible. So we do staff laptops every year, we do student Chromebooks every year, so that if we do have some sort of financial crisis, we don't lose everything all at once. That's kind of our plan. And I think this could be a really fascinating conversation about how we budget and how we implement, because that was 2 very interesting responses. We do the same with our APs. We have them on a 6-year replacement cycle, and we change out a 6th every year. So that's just the way we do it. But for us, we are transitioning in Washington from the Skyward SMS platform to Cumulative this summer. That's a big deal. So that's our student information system and our ERP all rolled into one. That's happening in July. But a little point of personal privilege here. We just wrapped up a 3-phase, 700 panel, 86-inch panel interactive installation process over the last 2.5 years. And I just could not be more proud of my team for the work that they did with that. It was just incredible, just absolutely incredible. So just want to give them a shout out because I'm here and I can.
Yeah, that's a lot. All of this is a lot. And I think it's the same every year, right? We do a lot. We come back from ACPE. We have our project lists, tech levy prep, all of the things. And it is that bright spot that merges the work we do and that we have in common when we come and walk golf courses or dance on dance floors or sit around fire pits together and talk shop for these kind of couple of stolen days every year.
I have to say that as much as I love being on the board and being at the conference keeps us so busy, I don't actually get to participate in some of those conversations as much as I used to. And it's kind of difficult, to be totally honest.
We do run a pretty full schedule. And Joe, I would say the same for you as you're doing DJ setup, right? Like getting ready, this group of 4, it's like we're living our ACPE few days as we sit here and talk to each other about it, because some of those quiet moments are part of our normal routine that were our quiet moments in our early years. Yes. One last huge thank you to Corey Horton, who you heard on our last episode as we were heading into the conference. Boy, very few baubles, very few things we were having to manage, which is a nice way to run a conference for those of us who have been here in years where we were running around managing a lot of things. So lots of appreciation to Corey and Jennifer. We miss you already. Well done. Well done this year, setting the bar high for Steve. We'll get him like the potty stool so that he can climb up it. I couldn't come up with any other word than like the toddler potty step
I got an extra one at home.
I would say that we miss you too, Alan, but I have a sneaking suspicion we're going to see him here in a little bit. So
yes. Teasing out the next episode, perhaps.
Yeah. And I don't know, Steve, do we really miss Alan?
50, depends on the day.
I mean, another love shove,
Okay, and every day there's a time at some point during the day where I think, fellas, and I see Alan and Joe sitting on those chairs on the stage in their old man rockers, and Alan telling a story that I never ever thought that the Alan Miedema that I know and care for and spar with all the time. Hi, Alan. I never thought that Alan Miedema would be the one that would tell a story like that on a stage.
So glad he did, because he wouldn't stop talking about it the entire conference. So he needed to work that out of him because it affected him deeply. So our ACPE community, take note of words of wisdom from Alan.
Yes. If you missed the closing at the conference, maybe ask Alan in Discord or next time you see him in person for some really good sage advice from one of the elders.
I learned about ageism today. I don't know that you can say that. I'm just kidding.
I was like, that's a term of endearment, a term of respect.
We did our civil rights training today in my department.
I didn't call him an old man.
Well, now you have.
I said he's an elder.
I love the Steve just dying. Sorry. It's for a few weeks now, a running joke in our department about age being a protected class, which it is, but it's only if you're over 40. So we're just
Ouch.
at our young employees. We're like, you're not protected. We can talk about your age as much as we want.
26-year-old.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry.
Any closing thoughts, words of wisdom?
Just great to have the time to think about kind of those days that we had 2 weeks ago, and just so many great memories. So just appreciate the time.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely something I look forward to every single year, and just feel so fortunate to be a part of this community.
Yeah, it really is. Back to the work we go.
Well,
Thank you both.
It is a holiday weekend coming up, so it is nice.
Oh, is that this weekend?
It is.
Yes.
We get a little.
Time for Yacht Rock.
It is
Time for Yacht Rock.
I think the boat's going in the water, and I'll be playing some Yacht Rock. It's going to be great.
Perfect ending. Steve, Joe, thank you so much for your leadership in ACPE, for the conversation tonight, for the laughter, and just being amazing guests.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks.
guys. Thank you.